为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, heart of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄大家，阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture. My name is Heng Sure, and today is Saturday, the 20th of February, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It's Sunday, February 20th in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It is Saturday, February 19th in Northern California, and please orient yourself wherever you are around the globe. Thanks for joining. Glad you're here. We have something special today in our 10 stages of the Flower Garland Sutra lecture series. We're going to be making vows together, Avatamsaka vows. So I'll let you know when we get to that point what's going on. We want to do two more things that for our protocol, for our housekeeping, before we get going on the lecture. Let me share my screen. One is we're going to invoke spiritual presence. We're going to request the presence of the Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the Tianlong Babo, the gods and the dragons and the Eightfold Pantheon, spiritual Dharma protectors, to draw near and to make sure that this assembly is Ru Fa, according to Dharma, and also Qi Xiang. Happy conclusion of the New Year ceremonies for all of you who celebrate at home. We got past our Yuan Shao, our closing, that the way we talked for a couple of weeks, we talked about Chinese New Year and how every day has a special significance. Well, the conclusion of it is special too. So we've now been through that, and everybody has eaten Kuan Yuan, the sweet little tapioca sweets in the syrup, and it's our New Year has truly begun. So let's invite the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We'll recite this 7 times. And one more task before we get going, which is to acknowledge the country and say that the Kombumeri people of the Ugambe language group practice their spiritual connections to land, to all creation, to all living beings in this location for thousands of years. Today we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians, with gratitude that we share this land today, with sorrow for the cost of that sharing, and with the hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging. All righty. Here we go. Now, we've come to the section in the first stage of the 10 Bodhisattvas stages here in the Flower Garland Sutra, talking about what a bodhisattva is, what he does, how he or she thinks, acts, speaks. Every one of the 10 stages has a heartbeat, has a main theme, and different points in the commentary of Master Chengguan, National Master Qingliang Guoshi, who is known as Avatamsaka Bodhisattva. He's pretty much the recognized authority on the Avatamsaka Sutra, and he says he can do it in one word. And the one word that he uses to describe what the Bodhisattva here in the first stage does is vows. And it's called the stage of happiness, but he's happy because his heart knows purpose. He knows what he's here for. She knows. You can please substitute the pronoun you prefer. I'm going to say he, you can say she, it is gender neutral. So the Bodhisattva knows what he's about. He has found his life's work in the Bodhisattva path. And the Bodhisattva path, what makes the Bodhisattva different from Arhat role models in Buddhism, which is very much a Buddhist goal, there is a huge section of Buddhism, that is to say millions and millions and millions of people and cultures and institutions and architecture and calendar, holidays, all that stuff, devoted entirely to not bodhisattva. Okay, our tradition, following the teachings of Shang Xuan Xiahua, the late Master Xuan Hua, we're that part of the Buddhist family that pays close attention to the Bodhisattva. And the Bodhisattva arises from a thought in the mind, and that thought is called the Bodhi resolve, Puti Shin, the Bodhicitta. And what is the Bodhi resolve? We've talked about it maybe every lecture. It's a thought of what is my potential as a human. Human potential, the original human potential movement. This person, and could be anybody, irregardless, doesn't matter what social status you come from, what your education was, how much money your parents had, where you were born, doesn't matter, any of that, the color of your skin, your gender. Your species, other species, devas, can make the Bodhi resolve. Doesn't matter. At some point in your life, you say, I want to be as wise as I can possibly be. Wisdom is my goal. They call it 一切智, omniscience. That's my goal. And furthermore, to be the complete Mahayana Bodhi resolve, you say, I know how to get there. I know how to do it. I will become deeply wise, greatly wise, through removing the things that cover over my Buddha nature, which is, according to this clear seeing of the Buddha, already awake, but covered. So it's not apparent. It's there, but it's not apparent. How come? What covers it? It's living beings and their troubles, afflictions, called. The classical word is ignorance, wu ming, avidya, it's called, no light. So bring the light up, uncover your nature, clear off those living beings. The technical language is called du zhongshang, hua zhongshang, teach living beings, wake them up, end their afflictions, heal their troubles, cure their blues. That's what you do. That's how you du zhongshang, hua zhongshang, take living beings across. That's the Bodhi resolve. Two pieces to it. I want to become wise. I do it by waking living beings up, the living beings of my own nature. In other words, change the language. Got to get rid of my bad habits, because those are the things that lead me out of the Tao, out of that place of awakening. And when I've done that, I'm a Buddha. I'm the same. That's the Bodhi resolve. So it's both wisdom on one hand and compassion on the other. Those are the two poles. Now, the Avatamsaka Sutra, our text that we're looking at, it is chock full of methods for taking living beings across and inspiration to keep us on the path towards wisdom. And it's a long road, so that inspiration is necessary, that constant reminder that this is a good thing to do. And by golly, to do it, to live that life, you go against a lot of what the marketplace world says you should be doing. You have to be an outlier, not an outcast. No, you're not cast out, but you're definitely not mainstream. If you say, oh, I think I'd like to stay home and meditate with my parents instead of partying. I'll party with my parents quietly, meditating. People say, what's wrong with you, right? So that's the Bodhi resolve. It's different from the Arhat. The Arhat wants to wake up, says, and that's noble. That's kind of the first half. But the second half is not typical of the Arhat model. The sage who says, I'm getting liberated from suffering. Goodbye. I'm out of here. I'm gone. Hard to do, noble, completely Buddhist, way to go, but a different interpretation, a different heart's resolve. So the Bodhi resolve walks the same path as the Arhat, but continues after the Arhat quits. So today, in our sutra, we're in the verses part of the text, which is the repetitive verses. They call them the Chongsong, the stating the principles we found in the prose, but doing it in verse form and chanting along with a chant tone. Some scholars will tell you that the verses came first and that the prose was elaborated from the verses, made longer. Could be. The principles are the same, so we'll hear it again and benefit from hearing it again. But the point of today, last couple of weeks we were looking at character. describing how the bodhisattvas, what you see when you come face to face with a bodhisattva, the kind of kindness, the kind of fidelity, the stability, the sense of straight shooter that the bodhisattva gives you, that feeling of being grounded and leading with kindness. That's what we've heard about. Today, we get the vows part. And as I said, this is probably the beating heart of the first stage, the stage of happiness. That's why the bodhisattva is happy, because he knows where he's going. He's got a purpose in his life that he doesn't waver from. His compass bearing is true. But this true bearing, this knowing, am I going north? Am I going northeast? Am I going east? Am I going southeast? Am I going south? Ticking around the compass. The bodhisattva has to keep his heart warmed up. He has to keep the fire lit in his engine, because it's hard. It's hard to keep going. I found a great story. And should I tell it now? I'll tell it later. We'll wait. Okay. So what is the deal that we get today? We're reminded of the exhortation to continue without getting tired of it. And the sutra emphasizes that so much, you have to figure it's easy to get tired of it. It's easy to run out of steam, because why? Living beings, we don't change easily. We change hard, right? So the bodhisattva requires exhortation to continue. Got to keep going. The heart of the bodhisattva path. Imagine the emotional and mental state of somebody who says, the end of suffering is ahead. I can see it, but I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to wait, set that finish line aside, because I see others are suffering, and bringing us all across together is success. That's what I want. Imagine that state, that kind of selflessness. Yeah. This is the kind of a flower of humanity, I have to say. To have this kind of altruism and kindness is very special. Okay, now let's go right to our text. That's enough of a prelude. Here we go. Bring that up. And I'm going to share my screen. Put that away for now. Here we go. Share my screen. Got it. There it is. Okay, this requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verses. We're going to do 6 verses. This is the whole section on vows. So let me go through. I'll do 6 in Chinese and 6 in English. Okay? Everybody, that all right with everybody? Let's do it that way. We'll start with, there we are. Here we go. Hang qi da yan xin, 人间与诸佛，护持诸佛法，摄取大仙道，长生如是愿，修行最胜恒，承受诸群生，严禁佛国度，一切诸佛刹，佛子悉充遍，平等共一心，所作皆不空，一切矛盾处，一时成正觉。如是等大愿，无量无边际，虚空与众生，法界即涅槃。世间佛出行，佛之心境界，如来之所入，即以三卷经。彼诸若有经，我愿方是经，如彼无经期，我愿亦复然。Almost there, 3 more. 如是发大愿，心柔然调顺，能信佛功德。What has happened? We have run into, interestingly, some principle. There we go. We've run into an uneven number of lines of vows. Boy, that's rare. That indicates every now and then the text kind of breaks through and you realize you're working with something that has been in print for thousands of years and went through sandstorms and sandstorms burying the caves that these texts are in. They traveled on ships across oceans. They've been on packs on camels' backs. They've been through imperial palaces and copied and recopied and translated multiple times to get to where we have them on our Macintosh computers, our laptops, and our PCs. It's been a lot of road to get to where we're reading them today in English and Chinese. And in that process, it's not tidy. Sometimes you can't count an even number of lines of verses. That's here in this first stage. One of the rare places where we can see something got lost over time. Maybe the bugs ate that palm leaf manuscript. So these verses have an uneven number of lines. Okay, ready? Let's do the English, that number of verses, all about vows. This is the whole section about vows. People will recall when we went through the prose, the vows went on and on and on. There were 10 different kinds. Okay, ready? Here we go. They always align with their greatest vows, wishing to keep the Buddhas in their sight, to protect and hold the Buddha's teachings, to maintain the great immortal's way. Always bringing up vows such as these, they cultivate the most sublime practices, to mature all the groups of beings, to adorn and purify Buddha lands. These disciples of the Buddha fill up all the Buddha's lands, impartial, together of one mind. Nothing they do is done in vain. On the tip every single hair. At the same time, they accomplish right enlightenment. Vows like theirs, which are so great, are limitless and they have no bounds. Empty space, along with living beings, the Dharma realm, together with nirvana. Appearances of Buddhas in the world, Buddha's wisdom and his states of mind. What the wisdom of the Tathagata's masters, and the end of the three turnings. If these should all reach an end, then all my vows will end. But as they all will never end, so too are my vows just this way. Having made vows as great as these, their minds become compliant and subdued. They can believe the Buddha's merit and virtue. Okay, there we go. So, those are the verses that have to do with vows. And they, when you come to vows, keep myself lubricated here, hydrated, oolong tea. When it comes to vows, we're touching something magical, and I want to identify it that way. Magical meaning science can't explain it, and ordinarily when I explain sutras, I like to talk about things when there is something that I have actually experienced myself. I can talk from my experience. I don't, quote, take it on faith. And when the text requires us to take it on faith, I like to acknowledge that, to say this is not my own experience. The principle of cause and effect. Master Hua explained it as the engine that drives the universe. That the gears of that engine that are turning, as they say, is never off by a hair. But to be able to say, I see this cause brought about that effect, he went on to say, only Buddhas know the totality of the ocean of karma, of cause and effect. Even bodhisattvas on the 10th stage can't see all of it. It's just too intermixed. It's too much like a bowl of stew, with a carrot floating here and tomato floating over there, and here a piece of celery. It's all mixed up together. So this is one of those kind of things where we say vows bring us back. What does that mean? It means when we fix our mind and say, I want this to happen, I put all of my heart behind this wish, this should be true, this should happen, that the force, the wrinkle in the matrix, when someone does that, when they say, this should happen, I want this to happen, the power of that can carry us out of one body into the next body and pick up where it left off. That's the power of vows. And so you understand why I'm saying that this is a little bit magic. Can't see it, how it works. I believe it is the case. I understand it is the case. I believe it is so. That this is how things actually work. That the power of a vow, especially when it's made from a pure, clean mind. Here's an example of that and why it's important to make that distinction. We know about the practice called dedication of merit, 回向功德, transference sometimes, dedication sometimes, same word. It is a major part of the Bodhisattva path. It's Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's 10th vow, so the capstone, the concluding vow on the Bodhisattva path is everything that you do that is good, you give away. You dedicate it out. And there's an entire chapter in the sutra. It came before the 10 stages here. 10 different aspects of trains his or her mind to do it better and better and better. And at the beginning, at the first dedication out of 10, the Bodhisattva's vows that she dedicates are simple. May all become Buddhas together. May all living beings leave suffering. May all beings gain happiness, right? Simple vows like that. Why? Because at that first stage of dedication, that first training, they're not as clear in mind. They're not as focused. They're not as skillful as they are in the 4th and the 6th and the 8th and the 10th dedication. The vows at the 10th dedication are incredibly ornate and complex and magnificent and vast and huge. And the Bodhisattva makes them fully in control of his mind. Because why? He's got more oomph. He's got more clarity. She's got more focus. And the vows, the dedication that she does with her mind at the 10th dedication, the 10th state, the 10th part, 10th step in that practice is huge. It's going from an incandescent light bulb to a laser beam, right? You know how incandescent bulbs, they say, the old screw-in light bulbs, they say that they were something like 9% efficient. The electricity would go in, and 9% of the potential of that electricity going in the base would actually produce light. The rest was lost in heat and vibration and such, because it had to go through tungsten filaments, wires. A laser, they say, is like 80% efficient in terms of the amount of electricity coming in the base and then moving through a crystal. Almost none of the potential of that electricity, that power, is lost in heat or vibration or just the low efficiency of the transmitting material. A laser, a crystal, is like, so laser beams can touch the moon from where you're standing in your parking lot. Not recommended, but you can do it. Whereas a tungsten light bulb, a screw-in light bulb, is just not the same. The Bodhisattva at the 10th dedication has a mind like a laser. And at the first dedication, it's still light. That tungsten light bulb was magnificent. You could turn it on and boom, darkness goes away. The light shines. Compared to a torch or a match or a flashlight, the tungsten bulb was terrific. But compared to a laser beam, it seems like darkness. So the Bodhisattva on the 10th dedication can really, really focus the mind. And we too, right here, listening to the Avatamsaka Sutra, doesn't matter where we start, if we practice and cultivate, especially through holding precepts, meditating, and following along with principles of wisdom, very quickly we can find an improvement and a clarity and a focus in our own mindfulness, in our own ability to hold a thought. So imagine the Bodhisattva who makes a vow, says, I will become a Buddha. I will take living beings across. That's what's happening right here. This is the first stage of the 10 stages is where vows are made, and these vows carry the Bodhisattva all the way through 10 stages of training. Now, let me see. I'm going to pick up, here we are. we want that one right there. Look at the 10. The Bodhisattva makes 10 vows. One is called Gongyang Yuan, the vow to make offerings. He's going to give. He's going to be generous. And that means he's going to be happy. He vows to hold on to the Dharma, to sustain it, to keep it going. Keep her moving, as they say in Wisconsin. He vows to turn the Dharma wheel. He's going to be a teacher. He vows to cultivate 修行二利, benefit self and benefit others. He's not doing it just for himself. Essentially, that's the transference, dedication vow right there. Number 5 is he vows to 长寿众生, to teach living beings by bringing them to maturity, however long it takes. It takes a while. Number 6, 长事, he vows to be of service. He's going to do whatever it takes to help others. Oh, let's see. I realize I need to share my screen. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. So these are the 10 vows. He vows to create a pure land. Go. This is pure Mahayana. This is amazing. The idea that this is possible is key to the Bodhisattva path. That with the dedication that we make every time we do something good, have a little bit of cultivation, we give it away. And one of the main places that the Bodhisattva gives his merit is to creating a place free of suffering, where you, when you become a Buddha, will go and other living beings can go there. So, a vow to never leave beings behind. And that's a challenge. I'll tell you why in a minute. Number 9, li yi, a vow to always benefit others. A vow to bring benefits to other living beings. And then, 成正觉愿, that primary mover of the Bodhi resolve, I'm going to become a Buddha. Now, I said I was going to tell a story, but I didn't. Here it is. Here's the story. This is pretty funny. What's the difference between the Arhat who says, I'm going to wake up and get out of here and save myself, leave suffering? The 3 realms are like a prison. This body of mine is like an enemy. I'm going to get out of it as soon as I can and leave, right? Well, that's noble. And if you can end mortality, can you end birth and death? Can you step off the wheel of samsara? That's an accomplishment. But the Bodhisattva has another vow. He's got another vision. There was a novice monk who made a resolve. In the past, there was an Arhat walking along with one of his students. He was a novice monk, a monk in training. And of course, the Arhat has already accomplished the way. And he is a sage already, and he is honored, worthy of offerings. The novice is a beginner. He's just, you can see a lot of his old habits still with him. Now, the novice is carrying the Arhat's robe and bowl. He's there essentially as a porter. He's got the baggage. So he's behind, and he's stumbling along, and he's following his teacher. And suddenly, that novice, in his mind, says, I'm so inspired, I want to become a Buddha. I want to maximize my potential for great wisdom. Furthermore, I want to cross over all living beings in order to do it. That's my goal. Thank you, Shifu, for your inspiration. And the Arhat knows what the Shami is thinking. That's one of the abilities of the Arhat is he has Ta Xin Tong. He's got knowledge of others' thoughts. And so what does he do? He switches places. He says, all right, stop. He says, here, give me the baggage. You made the Bodhi resolve. It's appropriate, it's right for you to walk in front of me. So he says, okay, you walk in front. I'll take the baggage. I'm an arhat. You made the Bodhi resolve. You go ahead. So they go along this way, and of course the novice is like, Shifu's kind of funny. After maybe it was what we drank, that river water back there. So anyway, okay, I'll walk in front. And then what happens? The novice sees bugs on the road. Oh my goodness. He sees living beings. He sees ants. And the ants are in an ant mound like they have here in Australia. And he sees all these ants, so many. And he thinks, do I have to wait for all of those ants to become Buddhas before I get enlightened? On second thought, maybe I don't want to be a bodhisattva after all. So, Lohan Ji Ling Chi Chi Yibo, the arhat knows what he's thinking, and he says, stop. He says, here, you take this. Get behind me. I'm going to go ahead. He says, you walk behind. And the Shami is now totally confused. He thinks his teachers maybe didn't get enough sleep last night. So he says, Shifu, what's going on? Why am I walking in front and now I'm walking behind again? And the teacher says, when you made that Bodhi resolve, you were a source of refuge for arhats. That Bodhi resolve made you someone whom an arhat can rely upon, because we haven't seen to the depths of our mind at that point. So I was ready to take refuge with you, and that's why I had you walk in front. It would be wrong for my Shifu to walk behind me, and you could be my Shifu. But then, after that, when you retreated from your Bodhi resolve and you saw the reality that you actually were going to have to wait until all living beings are crossed over, then you were no different from an ordinary person. And so I thought it would be better if you walked behind me and let me go ahead. So that's the story. And that's the joke from the Tang Dynasty. This is a Tang Dynasty joke from Master Chengguan, his Huayan Suqiao. Tang Dynasty monk. How wonderful. Okay, now another thing. While I got the screen shared here, did you notice, I'm sure you did, that among the vows that we just chanted, that the bodhisattvas make, says vows like theirs, as great as that, are limitless. They don't have any boundaries. Empty space, living beings, the Dharma realm, even nirvana, Buddha's coming into the world, Buddha's wisdom, their states of mind, the wisdom that the Buddha's master, and the three turnings, that is to say, living beings karma, and living beings afflictions. When all those things end, only then will my vows end. But since all those things have no end, living beings unfortunately don't end, living beings afflictions don't end, living beings karma doesn't end, so my vows will continue. Just as those things never end, so too my vows are just that way. And here's the conclusion, and this is one of those places with 3 lines instead of the standard 4. Having made vows like that, their minds become compliant and subdued. They can believe the Buddha's merit and virtue. Okay, I like that point, and I want to stop here for a second. Having made a vow, having made that Bodhi resolve, and determined what you want to do with your life, it takes the pressure off. There's an existential relief when you make the Bodhi resolve. You say, I know what I'm going to do. I know it's going to take lifetimes, and I'm not worried because this is the highest goodness. This is what I was sent here to do. This is what I sent myself here to do. And what a joy, what a gift to have found the Buddha Dharma that points the way so clearly. While Professor Verhoeven, the former Bhikshu Heng Chao, and I were bowing to the city of 10,000 Buddhas on the Pacific Coast Highway, we reached a place called Morro Bay. Morro Bay has a huge rock in the bay. And parenthetically, Morro Bay is one of the places in California that is deeply, deeply water stressed. We discovered, the New York Times announced the other day that the drought in the West, which includes California, is the worst drought in 12 centuries, 1,200 years. It's drier now than it has been in recorded history, and they can go back and tell by carbon tracing and such when there was the last drought. In fact, Joshua trees have been around that long. The oldest redwoods have been standing for that long. So the longest drought, the worst drought in 1,200 years, is afflicting the West Coast right now. And here in Australia, we've had rain, unseasonal rain, and it's going to be raining again this week. So we'd be happy to share our rain with California. Anyway, so Morro Bay is one of those cities, along with like Bodega in Marin County, that have very little water available. Anyway, that's parenthetical. We were bowing through Morro Bay, and we came back from the morning's bowing to where we had parked our Plymouth station wagon, 1957 Plymouth station wagon, off behind on a cul-de-sac without any houses nearby. We were going to have lunch there. And there was a car pulled up, station wagon, and there were kids at every window and in the station wagon. They didn't get out, but the mom got out, and she came running over, and in her hands she had jugs of orange juice, two half gallons of orange juice, and she had some fresh fruit. She had some apples and a loaf of bread. She said, "Oh, hi, I'm so glad I found you. I just wanted to say that I was inspired by what I saw you doing, and I wanted my kids to see you." And she pointed, and the kids are all waving car windows like this. So we waved back. And she says, "I read on your window, you had taped up that press release about the way you practice, how you vow not to have sexual misconduct, to not to lie, and not to use any intoxicants whatsoever." She said, "Wow, what a relief." She said, "If you could live that way all your whole life, you would just take all the weight off your back." She said, "How wonderful to know that there are standards, and when you live according to them, that things go well." She said, "That would be such a gift to have those as everybody's rules. She said, and yet, isn't it funny? She said, I studied religion at college at Santa Barbara, and every religion agrees that that's the definition of a human being. Someone who is not lethal, someone who is harmless, someone who doesn't steal, they're content, they're not greedy, they give things instead. Someone who is true to their practices, that's included. It's okay to get married, right? Yeah, you just be true. She said, someone who tells the truth and someone who is sober. Wow, she said, it'd be like living with gods, she said. She said, anyway, I just wanted to give you this orange juice. So, so we're like, this person really got it. She's just this housewife with her car full of kids. So she drove away and said, good luck, fellas. So, yeah, every now and then. So those vows take the pressure off. And this bodhisattva makes these endless vows just go on and on. I remember we took a music break at this point when we were going through the every one of those 10 kinds of vows that, remember we found them here, these 10 kinds. Every time we got to the end of one of those sets of vows, it said, Guang Da Ru Fa Jie, Jiu Jing Ru Xu Kong, Jin Wei Lai Ji, Yi Jie Jie Shu, Wu You Xiu Xi. So we put it to music because it was a refrain. It goes, vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. I'll try it one more time. Here we go. This is how you make vows in the Avatamsaka. Vast and great as the Dharma realm, ultimate as empty space, to the ends of future time, throughout all numbers of eons, without cease, without cease, without cease. Infinite vows would be easier to pass through if you had a banjo, for sure. Okay, now, we've talked about how the Bodhi Resolve is that first opening vow, and how it's got two parts, and how it's different, what that does to your sense of time and your purpose in life. You know what you're about once you make that Bodhi Resolve. And we talked about how it carries over. It's from the mind. It's a thought like any other thought, but it's a power thought. It's a focused, heartfelt resolve. This is something you're going to do. And you kind of take your wristwatch and put it in the drawer when you make the Bodhi resolve, because living beings, like ants, are hard to take across. Bad habits, like anger, like pride, are hard to change. And yet, that's what the Bodhisattva is about. He or she says, may take a long time, it's okay with me. Remembering the novice monk walking with the Arhat. How long it takes is not my concern. Sincerity is what works. You just think about people who have strongly held political views. Sometimes the more you talk to them, the more they're convinced that they're right. So persuasion is the ultimate political tool, they say. Violence is not the answer, certainly. But how hard it is to get Uncle John to change his views on the governor or on government itself, and yet that's just one aspect. When we're polarized on social views, you always kind of feel like you're looking for a key. You could just kind of unlock a door and the heart would open and people would agree on externals and really get to the deeper things. Like, what are we here for? What are some baseline things that humans can agree on, such as not killing others for food, when you can nourish your body with things that don't involve death? Seems like a basic thing, right? Ensuring the health of our elders in our own family would seem to be a basic thing, and yet people still find reason to disagree on these basics. So you just wish that there were a key to help people find common ground. Music is one of those things in all its diversity. Food is one of those things. The joy of children is one of those things, but it's hard to find, especially now in this time. So the Bodhisattva says, yes, that's true, so I need vows. I need something that will carry me through those hard times, so I don't quit halfway, so I can keep going. The vow is meant to sustain, to keep going. All right, I mentioned at the top of the hour that we were going to do something special today. And I hope folks will give me your attention, some patient attention, focused attention. We're going to look at a text that is called the Fa Yan one. The vows, the Avatamsaka Sutra's vows for the Avatamsaka Sutra. And this is a text written not by the Buddha, but by a monk from the northern Song, whose name is Shosei, Chan Master Shosei. And it's fairly short, it's medium length, like that. And this text came to my awareness because I was bowing to every word in the Avatamsaka Sutra as part of my practices when I was a brand new monk. And I had been shown that practice by my Dharma brother, Bhikshu Hangyo, and I had begun to bai jing, to bow to every word in the sutra, one at a time. There was in there's a text called the Chan Man Er Song, Chan Man Er Song, the daily breviary for the Chan school. It's a kind of like a hymnal. In the Christian church, it would be a hymnal. And the hymnal has in it, more than hymns, it's got procedures for funerals, procedures for marriages, procedures for baptisms, things like that, right? The Chan Man Er Song, the daily breviary of the Chan school, has the same thing. It's got lots of ceremonies. Praying for rain is there. Qi Yu, where you talk to the dragons and make requests of them. Repentance liturgies are in there. Lots of chanting, sutras to recite, etc., etc. This text is in that book. It's called, are you English readers ready? Text, they're called the verse text for bowing to the Avatamsaka Sutra. Text for bowing to the Avatamsaka Sutra by Chan Master Shou Sui of the Song. Here it is. And when I did my pilgrimage, which took 2.5 years on the road and then continued when we reached City of 10,000 Buddhas, every single morning, as we, myself and Bhikshu Heng Chao, prepared to start our bowing, we'd left our car behind, we'd come out onto the road. This was what we recited every single day, every time. So however many days our pilgrimage took, this was how we started our day. And we recited it. We didn't have the English, we had only the Chinese, which was a challenge for Marty, but he learned, and it resulted in our translation here. So I wanted to read it, and you know how certain news shows say the following contains difficult language or graphic scenes. Should you not want to see what's going to happen if this was disturbing you, please take a walk away from the TV set or from your computer and come back in a minute and we'll be done, right? Well, I want to say to people, this text, this one here, the vows, this is Avatamsaka vows. That's why it connects to our sutra today. This has the power to connect you to the Avatamsaka Sutra. So if you should not want to be connected karmically with the Avatamsaka Sutra, plug your ears, step away from the computer, get a cup of tea or something. If, on the other hand, you, like me, would like to be connected to the Avatamsaka Sutra and to hear these vows, maybe even make these vows, to find the text life after life, and to be found by it, to be pulled in like an iron filing to a magnet by this text, this is for you. And we'll do it together and enjoy the Huayan Fayan one. Let's make it, I think, is it big enough? Is this big enough? Cliff, Jerry, is this big enough? We can make it bigger if we want to. I'll read the Chinese myself and let folks hear it. If you can read it too, fine. If you want to wait for the English, fine. But here we go. 其手华严真性海，种种光明遍照尊，普贤万行所庄严，一切真如法界藏。龙树龙宫亲松意，时差于天禅为言。一乘言顿妙法门，见性成佛真密典。手捧目观心口诵，当知素有大因缘。见闻随喜发菩提，究竟愿成萨婆若。南无毗卢教主华藏寺村言报记之经文，不浪汉之欲处。沉沉混入叉叉缘用，十照95048字。一乘圆教大放光佛华严经。 绕人欲了知，三世一切佛，因观法界性，一切唯心造。常愿供养，常恭敬，七处九会佛菩萨。常愿正入，常宣说五洲四分华严经。常愿供养无修歇九世刹尘菩萨众。常愿悟入，常宣说大方广佛华严经。复愿弟子生生世世在在处处眼中常见如是经典，耳中常闻如是经典，口中常诵如是经典，手中常书如是经典，心中常悟如是经典。愿生生世世在在处处常得亲近华藏一切圣贤，常蒙华藏一切圣贤，慈悲舍受如经所说，愿悉证明。愿入善财童子，愿入善财菩萨，愿入文殊师利菩萨，愿入弥勒菩萨，愿入普贤菩萨，愿入观世音菩萨，愿入毗卢遮那佛。依次成就功德，依次发愿功德，愿于四恩三有法界一切众生，消无始以来尽法界虚空界无量罪垢。愿于四恩三有法界一切众生，解无始以来尽法界虚空界无量愿业。愿于四恩三有法界一切众生，集无始以来尽法界虚空界无量福智。同有华藏庄严海，共入菩提大道场。南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。And then we took our first 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, and bowed. We can fill the screen. Okay. So the Mohabora Bolami, this is not part of the one we did. So that's what we did. And that's what you've done now together. This is the text for making vows to be connected to the Avatamsaka Sutra. How about that? Okay, English speakers, here we go. Now, I'm going to do this. Oh, look at that. Oh, so pretty, huh? Nice, fills the whole screen. Okay, I should have thought of that. Are we ready? I bow to the oceanic true nature of the Flower Adornment Sutra. All manner of radiance pervasively shines from the honored one. The myriad practices of Samantabhadra act as its adornments, and in the treasury of the Dharma realm, all is truly thus. Nagarjuna personally went to the dragon's palace and memorized it. The Venerable Shikshananda of Khotan expounded on the one vehicle's sudden and wondrous Dharma door. Seeing the nature, becoming a Buddha, truly esoteric doctrines. As my hands now hold it, my eyes now see it, and I now recite it with my mouth and mind, I know that there must have been great causes and conditions planted in the past, so that upon seeing and hearing the sutra, I will be delighted. I will resolve my heart on realizing Bodhi. I will ultimately attain the wisdom of omniscience. Homage to the teaching host, Vairochana Buddha, the kindly honored one of the world systems of the flower treasury, whose jeweled verses, golden words, display the jade scroll of his magnanimity. Myriads of worlds blend together, and a multitude of Buddha lands interpenetrate. 10,095,048 words in all are the one vehicle's perfect teaching, the great means, expansive Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra. If one wishes to fully understand all Buddhas of the three periods of time, simply contemplate the nature of the Dharma realm, how everything is made from the mind alone. I vow to make offerings to and revere the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 9 assemblies in 7 places. I vow to always realize and teach the 5 themes and 4 divisions of the Flower Dharma Sutra. I vow to unceasingly make offerings to and worship the bodhisattvas of the 90 Buddha lands. And I vow to always awaken to and propagate the great means, expansive Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra. Moreover, I, disciple Gojun, and the others humbly vow that in every life, in every world, everywhere, and in every place, my eyes will always see this sutra, my ears will always hear this sutra, my mouth will always recite this sutra, my hands will always write out this sutra, and my mind will always comprehend this sutra. I vow in every life, in every world, everywhere, and in every place, to always draw near to all the worthy sages of the world system of the flower treasury. I shall receive and uphold their kind and compassionate instructions, vowing to understand everything that is taught in this sutra. I vow to be the same as the bodhisattvas Sudana, Manjushri, Maitreya, Samantabhadra, Avalokiteshvara, and the Buddha Vairochana. I vow that by means of the meritorious virtue acquired from reciting this sutra and making these vows, that together with the 4 benefactors, those in the 3 realms of existence, and all living beings in the Dharma realm, I shall eradicate immeasurable faults and defilements from beginningless time to the end of empty space in the Dharma realm. I vow that together with the 4 benefactors, those in the 3 realms of existence, and all living beings in the Dharma realm, we shall be freed from immeasurable karma of hatred. I vow that together with the 4 benefactors, those in the 3 realms of existence, and all living beings in the Dharma realm, I shall accumulate immeasurable blessings and wisdom. I vow that together with the 4 benefactors, those in the 3 realms of existence, and all living beings in the Dharma realm, we shall all roam through the seas of world systems of the flower treasury. Together we shall enter the great wayplace of Bodhi. Homage to the great means, expansive Buddha's Flower Dharma Sutra, and the ocean-wide Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, vast as the sea. Homage to the great means, expansive Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra, the ocean-wide Flower Garment Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as vast as the sea. Homage to the great means, expansive Buddha's Flower Garland Sutra, and the ocean-wide Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, as vast as the sea. Well, there you have it. That is the text for bowing to the Avatamsaka Sutra. And it's funny, Marty Heng Sure and I did it every day in Chinese. And in English, it really feels chewy. Your mouth is kind of tired after saying all those syllables. The Chinese is very flowing. 西受华严真清海，种种光明遍照尊，普现恒愿所庄严，一切真如法界藏，隆中隆空真中意，时差于浅山为言，一成圆顿大放光。It just really flows along. English, not so. But there will be a way, there will be a time where one generation of translations seem to come in waves somehow. And every successive wave improves upon the previous wave's fluency. So anyway, there will be a time when the proper translation, when that text will, in English, will flow as well. I definitely have the sense that that text put together by the monk Shosei in the Northern Song has the power to turn our nature into a piece of iron that the magnet of the Flower Garland Sutra attracts and pulls you in whatever body we find ourselves to the place where the sutra is being opened and expounded and bowed to and illustrated. I made a vow at one point that I was going to do everything that I could to propagate the Avatamsaka, including singing it and turning it into a comic book, or maybe a manga, making it if we could get some Japanese anime artists. Ooh, how wonderful to see the Flower Treasury World System put together in a Miyazaki movie, an anime. I wonder if Haruo Miyazaki is a Buddhist. Maybe he's retired, although he came out of retirement to do one more film. Maybe we could invoke the Keigon Kyo. Onegai shimasu. That would be wonderful. Get the legendary animator Miyazaki to do a film of the Avatamsaka. Think Spirited Away. How wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so there it is. We did it in 2 languages, and that text is really, really powerful. It began when Marty and I recited it. We always felt like that we weren't alone somehow, that even if we were standing on Big Sur in a deserted piece of the highway, tucked around behind a pullout, because we were going to have to stand in one spot and bow for 6 hours there because the road was so narrow we had to walk and count with our beads. We couldn't bow along the highway progressively. We had to stop in one place. And we felt like we'd been forgotten by the world, which is not bad for bowing, mind you, because you don't want too much attention, especially by fast-moving vehicles, right? So even in a place like that, there was a sense when we recited Shisho Huayan Junqing Hai Zhongrong Guangming Bianjiaozun, the text for bowing to the Avatamsaka, we felt like we were surrounded by pure, powerful spiritual beings. And certainly, that's a state of mind, projection. Yes, but you have that feeling. And if anything was going to invoke them, the way we hope happens when we go, Namo Da Fang Guang Po Wai Yanjing, it would be that text. So having that available before you bow is really wonderful. I told a story about Professor Goldman bringing in Pandit Bhatta, the Hindu Brahmin, who chanted praise of Sanskrit, the language, before he began reciting his text. Similarly, before you begin to bow to the Avatamsaka, enough people have bowed to the sutra and had miraculous, incredible responses and felt that power that somebody, Master Shosei, the Chan Master Shosei, wrote that text to commemorate it and to concretize, to realize that sense of connection to the sutra. So, yeah, that's why we lecture week after week. We want people to remember the stories. Our Dharma brother Brian put together this song. Storyteller, elder, griot, balladeer, bard, grandmother, yarn, spinner, shaman, shanaki, down through the ages like an echo from a shell, passing on tradition with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. Stories that we tell, we are passing on tradition with the stories that we tell, with the sutras we recite, right? Here, I'm gonna, I keep forgetting to share my screen. Here we go. Here it is. Close that. Here we go. As our children grow up in a world so often cruel, we can teach them to treasure stories just like a precious jewel. Mother to daughter, ear to ear, drawn from the ancient well. We are teaching our children with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. Stories that we tell, we are shaping our future with the stories that we tell. The stories that we tell can help to make a lasting peace inside ourselves and in a world where hate may one day cease. If our stories ring true and clear as a bell, we can build a better world with the stories that we tell, with the stories that we tell. The stories that we tell, we can build a better world with the stories that we tell. And it is time to tell a story of the horrors of warfare. Powerful, selfish men who are mad, crazy, psychopathic men think that playing with the lives of human beings is less important, unimportant. What is important is to make use of all the military strength that we've spent all our money on, to use all the weapons that we've built that are there to destroy life and cause suffering. So the world is poised on the brink of unbelievable suffering. The hell on earth that is warfare, just there, like a play, as if it were no more than a show on your computer, a Netflix movie made in a studio. Unfortunately, this is a real life threat of war, and how important for people as powerless as we might be, air quotes around powerless, as powerful as we are, the only thing that can stop war when mad, crazy, lustful, hateful, lust-filled, hate-filled dictators choose to go to war, the only thing that can change it is to put opposing thoughts in the air, thoughts of peace, of harmony, of well-being, thoughts of kindness, of gentleness, of infinite compassion, and hold those thoughts. Don't forget the other story, stories that we tell about humanity without hatred, without violence. 不争不贪不求, no contention, no greed, no seeking, no selfishness, no self-benefit, and no lies. Think of those 6 guidelines. Every one is broken when you choose to go to war, especially the first one. So I want to encourage everybody with the stories that we tell the stories of peace, of well-being without violence. All right. At this time, I'm going to ask Jin Chuan Shi, I believe, or Jin Wei Shi to talk about what's going on at the Berkeley Monastery. We've got some changes here that we need to let everybody know about because there's a special week coming up. Okay, I'll pop up so I'm going to share my screen and then bring up the website. Okay, please take it, Jin Chuan.
Okay. So for those of you who've been joining the BBM story online for all our ceremonies, we're going to actually take a break next week because of a retreat at DRBU. That's called a contemplative exercise immersion focused on Chan meditation. So if you go to the Berkeley Monastery website, you'll see the very first post there is the announcement for that, but also the recordings for morning and evening ceremonies, because that's what people have been joining us. So although we might not be streaming, you can watch the previous recordings online. And so it's highly recommended, although you might not have the sense of being able to do it all of us together. You can imagine that everybody else is doing it at the same time as you are. So that's happening for 1 week, and we'll begin again on Saturday, Friday or Saturday, depending on when we get back to Berkeley. The morning and evening ceremonies will continue to be streamed. In addition to that, though, our afternoon recitation with Dharma Master Jingfo will continue. So you can still go in every day at 12 o'clock. And also, Jingfo Shi will continue his Thursday night lectures with translation. So if you've been following the Infinite Life Sutra lectures, I want to learn about Amitabha Buddha's story, that's the time to go to that. Marty will be lecturing still, as you saw there, Friday evenings. The Four Fearless Hearts Pods is coming on, and exactly what Dharma Master was just talking about, finding another story than a story of fighting and war, is what if we were to use the four boundless hearts in our life every day? And so, from a request from those in Asia, Jean Weisher and myself will be helping to lead the retreat with Service Space, their new platform called a pod, and that will be from March 26th to April 2nd, 2022. And I think some universities have spring break during that time, so it's a good week if you want something to do. We have our Great Compassion Mantra Dedication of Merit. This is a regular time on the last Sunday of the month. And otherwise, we have our regular daily schedule. I think Stephen Tainer's lecturing. I think the Vaigiri monks are lecturing still on their website. DRBU is definitely still taking students. Heng Sure is lecturing right now, Saturday night, and also Friday afternoons, 12:30 to 1:30. I believe Amelia is still teaching, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we've been doing at the monastery.
All right. So just to summarize, that was a lot of information. Because there is a retreat at Dharma Buddhist University that will include the staff, the monks at the Berkeley Monastery, helping to lead, helping to administer. So our ordinary weekly, daily events at Berkeley Monastery, the BBM Online, will be different this week, just 1 week. There will be recordings. If you want to join morning and evening chanting, you can still take part, but it won't be live. There will be at noon, Dharma Master Jingfo Shi will be leading the daily recitation of the Buddha's name, and Pasaka and Shramanera Chinliang and Bhikshu Jinfo will be leading that. Furthermore, Thursday, Jinfo Shi's Amitabha Dharma Sutra lecture will continue. So 2 things will continue. That's the noon time. What is it, at 12 or is it 1 that he recites?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock. Okay, 12 o'clock Pacific time. So you'll find that live. And then Thursday evening, the Wuliang Shou Jing, the Sutra Limitless Life by Master Jingfo. All right. Okay, thank you for that. Jin Chuan Shi, Amitofo.
Amitofo.
Now, yeah, good. See you next week. We have something now that people will enjoy, which is a chance to follow Samantabhadra Bodhisattva's vows to Pu Jie Hui Xiang, to transfer merit and virtue. This is number 10 of the 10 practices and vows. And because of the ongoing COVID pandemic, which seems to be retreating, although there's news of a new variant, which I don't want to even talk about at this point. We have been transferring with Medicine Buddha's mantra. So if you would like to learn this and chant it often, you will be using a Buddhist method to dispel disasters, dispel calamities, and lengthen life. Xiaozai Yin Shou. This is a powerful mantra that is part of our Mahayana tradition, and we want people to learn it If you can do it in Chinese, Namo Boche Fadi Bishasha, that's a good way to do it. But if you can do it in Sanskrit, it's another powerful way to do it. And it's got a good catchy melody that you can walk to. You can move your feet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru. You can walk with it. You can keep it going while you're waiting in line for a COVID test or whatever. This is a powerful method that we want people to learn and to use. So here it is. We're going to do it 3 times. Then we'll bow to the Buddhas. We'll bow to Master Hua and see you all next week. Thanks for joining. Durya Pravarajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Vaisaji Vaisaji Sadgate Swaha Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Vaisaji Vaisaji Vaisadya Sadgate Swaha Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Vaisaji Vaisaji Vaisadya Sadgate Swaha. Here are the Buddhas at City of 10,000 Buddhas, and you're welcome to join me if you'd care to. We can bow 3 times right from where you're sitting. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That will do it for us today. Thank you all for joining. See you all next week. Aum Tofo. Keep those positive vows rolling.